All right, this is a little bit different than episode than usual, as I'm most of the time trying to get everything out overnight. I'm the real_G Warner across Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Just hit the live button on. So just gonna, I guess, bring up some lineups and figured I would go through what's expected on this Europa League final. Two of the more famous clubs in the world all getting together. I will have comments on, so whoever comes in here and wants to shout something, please do. And let me get the lineups up while also make sure to retweet this as many places as I possibly can so that everyone knows that this is going down and is going down live. All right, so I'm going to retweet this now. Turn my notifications off like a normal human who does podcasts and has done these before. And maybe it's worth it for me to record it. I don't know. I don't even think it's that valuable, but I guess you could always watch it back on the live page at the real_G Warner on YouTube. So let's see. I guess it's time. Let's go into it. Let's open up some lineups. Let's get some current lines, and then let's find some winners. Okay, so it does feel weird that I'm not recording this. So in a more formal way. All right. Europa League here. And let's get, I guess we'll do a Zoom. Why not? Just see if it's even worth recording. In case someone wants to play this back and you can get an idea of what where things went right or wrong, I guess, possibly. Thanks to those of you that are joining us live. Appreciate that. And we're going to record it now because why the heck not?
Recording in progress.
Hey, this is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the Europa League final episode. We're going live. Lineups are out. We're going to go through the current numbers, where everything is moved, and trying to see if maybe a few minutes before the game starts is an interesting or worthwhile adventure, especially getting prepared more for the Conference League final coming up, and I guess the Europa Conference League, the Champions League final, and also the Europa Conference League's final. But in terms of numbers for today, so live right now, BetOnline, we have Tottenham Hotspur quarter goal underdogs right now to Manchester United. The match will be played in San Mamés in Athletic Club Bilbao Stadium, Bilbao, Basque Country, northwestern Spain, excuse me. And we've got a favorite here because, I mean, the English Premier League table is hilarious. Basically, the two of the worst teams that are not automatically relegated are competing for a Champions League berth, which is going to be hilarious. Next year is going to be great, and I think we're going to have a lot of potential avenues to fade either of these teams, maybe both of them next season, depending on who's managing next year, all that sort of stuff. But current number will start there. Currently, Tottenham quarter goal underdogs used to split both ways. That has moved from when I started initially tracking it with a pick'em, all the juice to the Manchester United side. So clearly, money's been flowing in on Manchester United. I'm not really a believer in either of these two clubs, to say the least. But I also feel like a pick'em on a neutral field, probably favored, or Manchester United favored, would make the most sense. But to me, there's some value in Tottenham, but just hold on a second. We'll get to the lineups. Total's 2.5 in this one. It was really juiced when I first saw it. We're about back there, minus 117 at BetOnline, quoting lines courtesy of BetOnline, because that's pretty much the best juice option across the betting landscape for soccer ultimately. So stick to them. In terms of two advanced numbers, also want to address that. Initially, Tottenham were plus 109. They're all the way up to 128. So that's a pretty significant jump. Manchester United, the first number I saw was minus 128 up to now minus 153. So about a 2% jump from the last. But let's also get the, I guess, lifetime numbers. So that would be, here we go. That did not come out right. Why did that not work? J minus B. Yeah. Where did this all go wrong? Somewhere this all went wrong. Oh, that's why. Because it's supposed to be I. Okay. I. Here we go. Okay, so we've seen a 14.84% increase on Tottenham Hotspur. That is the power of the betting markets. And I think it's very clear. It's weird because we have two English Premier League sides playing against each other in the Europa League final, though clearly the Europa League was designed for the Premier League. Champions League was not. But to me, usually there's a ton of money that comes in on the English clubs, no matter how good or bad they've been playing. It's a little bit different with two England teams against each other. But I do think the size of the Manchester United fan base has made them a much bigger favorite this season than they have really deserved. So for that reason, I'm not surprised by this uptick in price, but 16.34% increase for Manchester United from minus 128 to minus 153 at current number, plus 109 from Tottenham up to plus 128 does to me give some extra value because I feel like initial number pick them on Manchester United side what made the most sense. Now as a quarter goal favorite though, there's a pretty significant change in what the betting market is requiring. So just probably simple for a lot of listeners, but thank you for coming in here, especially live. I'll try to figure out a way to post this as quickly as possible when we wrap up. Any questions, if you want to throw them through, they will come on this bottom line here on StreamYard, but I'll disable that for right now. So just anyone who's trying to figure out maybe to bet the Europa League Championship, Europa League final for the first time, if Manchester United are a quarter goal favorite, that means you get half your bet at pick'em, half at 1/2 of a goal favorite. So a half a goal favorite must win a match in order to cover. If you draw as a quarter goal favorite, you'll push half and the underdog wins the other half because you essentially get half your bet at plus 1/2 goal at the end of 90 minutes. Stoppage time does not matter except for the two to lift the trophy numbers, which we just discussed. That's where the increase of 16% for Manchester United from minus 128 to minus 153 has occurred. But to me, it doesn't seem like on a neutral field. So I usually assign about a quarter of a goal favorite to whomever is playing in their home stadium. In Athletic Club Stadium, I guess Manchester United are a little bit more familiar with it because they did knock Athletic Club out of the semifinals. But that's not enough for me to want to give any sort of favoritism here. And it's really not that long of a trip. Everywhere in Europe is pretty close. It's at least not long compared to the United States. I can't imagine some European soccer club flying from Miami to Seattle in Major League Baseball, for example, here in the United States, but that's another thing. So I'll leave the spread and total down and kind of go through lineups, try to give an idea of where we're looking. But certainly as I get into this, Tottenham Hotspur quarter goal underdog on a neutral field definitely has some value. Plus, I like the under 2.5 goals as most finals, as I think Shaka Hislop on the ESPN FC show here, United States, former goalkeeper. I'm not really sure he knows much about anything, but he does say you don't play a final to make it pretty. You just play to win. Might not be his quote, but that's, I think, something we see in a lot of these. So I'll start with Manchester United because they've been getting all the love. And we saw in the, I guess, the match right before this Europa League final, both played on Friday about the same time. I think Manchester United kicked off a little bit later at Chelsea. Tottenham Hotspur were playing, I want to say, at Aston Villa. And there's two different lines of thought or reasonings in kind of the lineups for that matchup. The European, but ultimately United States-based commentators thought that one side was sure of who the starters would be, and that was Tottenham Hotspur, and that's why they played a rotated team. From a Manchester United perspective, there was a lot of questions about whether Ruben Amorim knew his best team, but he pretty much played it. And you can argue that with he said in the post-game comments that they had 5 days, 2 for full recovery, 2 to train, and then 1 to travel. So that was enough time for them to play their best. Clearly, Tottenham did not believe that and are going to be more fresh. I don't think at this point in the season anyone is rusty. Instead, unless you're returning from injury, which you could argue that Heung-min Son got some minutes and important ones coming back from injury to try to be a little bit more ready for this final because there's a lot on the line. And we'll get to Tottenham and their coaching situation in a second. But I'll start with the Manchester United lineup, which in goal we have Onana, who's one of the more one of the least trustworthy keepers, I think, especially for a big club. And I think he's a big reason why Manchester United have struggled so much in his time there. You could argue that it's not all his fault, and I'm probably being a little harsh, but I think there's plenty of mistakes in that goalkeeper, which does certainly make me interested more in the Tottenham side, but also less interested in the under, though I think under heading into this was probably my strongest lean. In the back line, we have Yoro, Maguire, and Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw, one of the recent returnees from injury. He's always hurt, it seems, and that's been a criticism throughout his career. But he's playing the left-sided center back. I think he's more of a left fullback or left wing back. But we've seen a lot of the top 5 European soccer leagues managers across all countries put and really employ a fullback as kind of a third center back, as kind of a makeshift center back, but I think with a little bit more of the pace to potentially defend better. And I think it's a way to get a more attacking player on the pitch. So you're not really using 3 defenders, because that does weaken your offense quite a bit. In front of that back line is Mazraoui as right wing back, Patrick Dorgu on the left wing back role, and then Casemiro, who is well past it, cannot run. But honest to me, I think his best attributes, I think it's been a long time he's been a great goal scorer, especially heading the ball for Real Madrid. We haven't really seen that as much at Manchester United, though certainly the team has been a lot worse. So he hasn't really had that ability to not have to worry about defending and just try to score goals. Next, Casemiro is an offensive player in Bruno Fernandes, who is going to take all the penalties. So if you're looking for anytime goal scorer, certainly a penalty taker is one I would look toward, and definitely that is Bruno Fernandes for Manchester United. In front of them, we have Mason Mount starting a second straight matchup after starting at Chelsea, as weird as that was. And then Amad Diallo coming in at right wing or right winger in a 3-4-2-1 formation. And Diallo has been the best player, I think, for Manchester United all season. He's been out for a long time due to injury. Important for him to start. But unfortunately, that also pushes Garnacho to the bench, which is, to me, the other lightning rod in that team. If I was Manchester United and I had, of course, I don't know the injury situations or what's going on in the back rooms, of course, but I would want Diallo and also Garnacho in as much as possible, because they are the lightning rods that are going to create the most. Up front, Rasmus Højlund is a decent goal scorer forward, but he's got a long way, a lot of seasoning that's required. When I look to the bench, we have Victor Lindelof, who did start last couple matches. He is on the bench, joined by backup striker and Joshua Zirkzee, Christian Eriksen, who's a good creative midfielder, probably not a ton of minutes in his legs. Garnacho, as I mentioned, Diogo Dalot, who I feel like has lost his job to a combination of Dorgu and Mazraoui, because ultimately they are kind of switching off between the very many wingback opportunities. And to me, Dalot hasn't really deserved that. But even more surprising for me is to see Casemiro starting in this match as opposed to Manuel Ugarte, who's, I think, one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. I guess, Kobe Mainoo is another big name. Harry Amas is a young player as a wingback, probably replacement for injury, and probably not any other reason. But there's some options on the bench, if you will, but they're not that strong. Certainly, I would have picked a different lineup, but I would have picked many different lineups, and Ruben Amorim has played all season. If there's any questions, of course, feel free to send them in here, and I will get to them as soon as I see them. But let's move to the Tottenham side of the ball. So we'll start with Guglielmo Vicario, one of the worst haircuts in all of professional sports, soccer, though there's a lot of bad haircuts and goalkeepers. They're playing back 4, as always, with Pedro Porro as right back, Christian Romero, Mickey Van de Ven, and Destiny Udogie as the left back. So that's about as strong as Tottenham have been in the back line all season. You could argue that a lot of their issues this year have come from having none of their center backs fit, and unfortunately having to play with other center backs that don't fit the style. So Mickey Van de Ven, one of the fastest players in the world, doesn't look that way. Dutch player, came up through, I think, Wolfsburg in the German Bundesliga, and has been hurt and seems to do his hamstring pretty frequently because he runs too fast for it. Is my estimate. Cristiano Romero has some of the best games of any player on a pitch, certainly has some disciplinary issues. Red cards are a thing for him. But I would expect in this Europa League final that there's going to be a huge level, especially with so much on the line with a Champions League spot that neither of these clubs will qualify for if they lose today. I think we will see a pretty conservative refereeing decisions, and that's generally the way the UEFA, I think, legislates their tournaments. In terms of I guess a 4-3-3 formation, so the midfield, we have Bissouma as the central defensive midfielder. Bentancur, who's a little bit in front of him, more attacking, but I think also fits that defensive mold, and Papsar as well. And I think that's a lot because there's injuries in the Tottenham midfield, and that's been confirmed through Tottenham fans that I'm friends with. And so up front, I think it's the biggest surprise not seeing Heung-min Son start, but ultimately he's been coming back from injury, and I think you could tell that the backups played in that last match heading into the weekend on Friday. Certainly, I think you see a more rested Tottenham team, and that's certainly what Ange Postecoglou was going for. Front lines, we have Richarlison, who's one of the best when fit, though he's been certainly fighting his way back from injury as well. Dominic Solanke, one of the best strikers in all of the English Premier League, was incredible for Bournemouth last season, though they didn't really miss him much this year, surprisingly, even with no real striker on their team until Evan Nilsson showed up. Brendan Johnson on the right is one of the faster players across European football, and certainly will be a problem because when I look at the back line of Manchester United, they do have 3 center backs, yes, or 3 in name, or 3 makeshift center backs. 2 are pretty definite. Lenny Yoro is going to have a great career, but he's very young. Harry Maguire, we know who he is. Some memes going out today when you send 3 emails before 9 a.m. and it's Harry Maguire in a suit. I think that's going to be his scenario, and trying to find ways for Tottenham will be trying to find ways to expose Harry Maguire in space. Luke Shaw certainly is more capable of speed and closing down the territory that Maguire might not be. But he's also returning from injury after long absences. So I'm not so much of a believer in Luke Shaw, and I'm not really a believer in much of either of these 2 teams, but I do think that one is a favorite here. So there's intimately more value on the underdogs. So Heung-min Son not starting. I'll go through the Tottenham Hotspur bench. Donzo started on Friday, is a very good center back. I think will be very good for Tottenham throughout his career. We'll see if he has a new manager next year. But Heung-min Son not starting is interesting. Tell started, Gray started, Spence started, Odegaard started, Davies started. So pretty much all the starters that were there on Friday are on the bench. And I got to say, and I think the commentators here in the United States were commenting pretty happily about the performance of the Tottenham backups, that they were playing not their pick of the litter in terms of their team, but that they were very competitive on the road and tough place to play at Aston Villa in Birmingham. So here we go. Some comments coming in. I'll try to keep those live as they are. Jerry's Poker Vlog, I'm on Spurs. There we go. Strength. Wish I flexed a little bit better there, but I'm with you. Quarter of a goal. I think that's the way. And I think that's hopefully I'm not going to talk you off of it, but I don't really see a reason for Manchester United to be this type of favorite. I do understand that the way money moves on game day, match day, especially usually goes to the bigger club, and that all makes sense. And that fits kind of my investment or betting model across all sports. Is I'm usually betting underdogs. So I'm usually waiting till tip off, kickoff, or whatever we're calling it, the first start of a match day or the match game beginning, if you're talking American sport. But to me, I think there's intimately more value, ultimately a ton more on Tottenham. We're seeing some money coming in at BetOnline currently on the under 2.5. I'm less concerned about losing that 2.5 and having it fall to 2.25, just because, in my humble opinion, these are places to save juice. And yes, if it ends or lands on 2, I'll win half my bet. But for the most part, when it wins, I'll win a much better price. And it's one of those things, especially for a long soccer season, trying to save juice is the most important thing. We've also seen the Tottenham side tick up a couple cents with plus 1/4 now as minus 112 as opposed to minus 110 earlier. But I'm not. That's certainly a number I'm more concerned about losing. I think that as that drifts towards a minus 120 or so, I think that is the time to lock in Tottenham Hotspur. Since we're not there yet, I just trying to think of other things to potentially cover. If you are looking for goal scorers, I would imagine that barring injury, Bruno Fernandes would be the forever penalty kick taker for Manchester United. From the Tottenham side, it's a little bit hard to say because Heung-min Son was previously filling that role. I think Dominic Solanke was doing it for Bournemouth. Richarlison was doing it for Everton previously. Brennan Johnson was doing it for Nottingham Forest. So lots of choices there. I'd probably expect Solanke to be the more likely goal scorer of that side, just because of the option to have a penalty kick. I wouldn't expect a penalty there. I think in 22% of matches over the soccer history, at least stat I saw. So wouldn't rely on that, but certainly is a nice place to be if you're looking for an anytime goal scorer or maybe first goal scorer. I think there's going to be few goals in this match. So I think that's the best way, I think, to really attack this one, is to not expect a lot of goal scoring. So under 2.5, maybe 2.25 if you want to sell it for some better juice, or potentially to get a quarter of a goal, I think is very interesting. Like BetOnline right now. So the difference, you're paying 15 cents to get under 2.5 minus 122. Way more than 15 cents, minus 122 versus plus 107 on the under 2.25 goals. So to me, I would probably go with the under 2.25 there as opposed to under 2.5. But I think we see a pretty emotional game, especially with a lot on the line. A lot of these players have signed for the biggest clubs in their lives and maybe forever and don't want to move somewhere else. I just think that if I'm picking a winner in this matchup, that's probably another question to go through. I'm not sure necessarily that I see one in regulation. I think there's a good chance we get to extra time, which certainly would make a quarter goal underdog bet worth it. I don't think we'll get a half of a goal where a draw in regulation would cover fully. So don't expect that. But from my perspective, I feel like we've seen Tottenham Hotspur, I think, change their style of play. They've been a lot better defensively after playing true Ange ball for as long as they could stand it, and then realize that they had to win the Europa League to keep his job. I would guess that he will keep his job if they win, but the win part is certainly a concern, and we'll see if they get there. I'm trying to think of more things to cover as I appreciate all of you being in here live, but I think it's probably time. I guess I should cut an ultimate best bet while I'm here, while I'm doing this. So let's get into it, and then we'll probably sign off, and I guess I'll let you all enjoy your day. Hey, this is _G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for the Europa League final. We are 48-21, 70% year to date, picking my favorite pick across all the sports I'm covering on each episode, specifically on this soccer podcast. But only one match to discuss on this Europa League final episode. I'm leaning towards Tottenham Hotspur, a quarter goal underdog, and under 2.5 is the, I think, most available line out there across the betting marketplace. If you want more plays, including a really hot May, I think I'm over 12 units, maybe 14 on Major League Baseball so far this year. Check out patreon.com/real_G Warner. Of course, plenty of plays across the rest of the soccer season, the Club World Cup this summer, and whatever sports are coming down the pipe. But let's go for the ultimate best bet in this episode. We'll go Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester United, under 2.5 goals as the best bet on this episode, trying to climb and get that 49th win. But a loss will take us down to 69%, so it wouldn't be so bad. Thanks for all for you joining a different episode live today, and I will talk to you all very soon. And I guess that's it. We have the 1 minute out there, and thanks for coming in, Jerry's Poker Vlog. Appreciate your support through the podcast, and everyone else. I hope you have a great day and hope we win some money.
Recording stopped.